Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well. This week, as promised, we're meeting with the Director of Aquatics at the City of Ottawa. We're going to learn more. It is warm outside. We want to make sure that we access our water, that it'd be splash pads, that'd be wading pools, that'd be our beaches, that'd be our indoor pools. So we're learning more in terms of what's the city's plan during this period of COVID to open those facilities yet to make sure that it's done safely. So we're meeting with Dan Brisebois, who's the Director of Aquatics. I have to preface before our meeting, that team has done amazing work. I come from Parks and Rec, so I'm biased. I worked in aquatics for 10 years at the City of Ottawa. They're an amazing group. And just to show you, they were frontline workers during this period. They did support Ottawa Public Health, and they did support long-term care teams at the city during this period. So now they're reallocating back to their traditional base to make sure that we can access the water safely this summer. Dan, thank you for taking time today. I really appreciate it. You and I, we come from the same mold of being on a pool deck, and we've worked closely together for a number of years. I'm happy that you're taking time with me. For those of you who don't know Dan, Dan is he's Director of Citywide Programs for Aquatics and Specialized Services citywide, which is a big all that to say that it's a big portfolio. On June 12th, the provincial government announced phase 2 of reopening, and as part of that, we were a bit surprised by the rapidity of the opening for many of the city services. Last week, we met with our head of childcare services. We met with folks in summer camps. This week, we really want to put a focus on the aquatics because, especially in the summer, it's warm. People want to stay fresh. Tell us, since the closure and since the announcement of the provincial government, where you and your team is at.
Well, firstly, when the Premier in the province made the announcement at the date you just indicated, there was quite a number of things to unpack with that announcement because it was quite long as far as the reactivation with stage 2 of the province. So in relation for the city, at that announcement, we had the ability to open up the beaches. We had the ability to open up our splash pads. We had the ability to reopen our wading pools and reopen both our indoor and outdoor pools as well. So there was quite a bit of information that came through with that announcement. Like any announcement from the province, what follows shortly after the announcement is sort of what we refer to as the rule book, what goes with operating those things and under what kind of restrictions they will operate. And for all the services I just identified.
The small details on capacity, on limitations, on all the process that we'll have to put in place.
Exactly. And for each of those services, obviously you can appreciate that the conditions vary per the service lines and so forth. So we're well underway right now because for some of these things, they were anticipated that it would reactivate. We were a little surprised when the province allowed the indoor pools and the outdoor pools to open, but we had got word that the splash pads were forthcoming, as was the wading pools. But we've since moved quite quickly to do all we could to try to reactivate those services. So I'm happy to indicate that the beach lifeguards will be deployed as of this Saturday at all the city beaches. Obviously, like any summer, the swimming is conditioned as far as advisement based on the weather and our QOI count from public health. So this Saturday is when we deploy the lifeguards, and it's also when Ottawa Public Health begins the E. coli testing for the water. So based on our flag system and the information we post on Ottawa.ca, residents can see what the latest is with E. coli counts and the advisory relating to swimming at that time. Moving on to the splash pads, we have...
important, right? They play an important role. They don't need the same type of supervisory...
Supervision.
They don't play the same supervision role that we would have in a wading pool or in a pool or at a beach. So we're glad to see those open. I don't know if you have a status. Have they pretty much all been open citywide now?
Yes, they've all been activated citywide. We have a small handful that unfortunately there's mechanical issues and parts are on order, and that there's a bit of a delay because of COVID-19 to get some of those parts. But the vast majority of them, about 95, 96% of them are all activated now and are able to be enjoyed by the residents, especially with the hot days we've had of late. So the reactivation of them began over a week ago now, and they were all completed within a few days for the several hundred we have across the city. Regulations emanating from the province and from information we receive from the Licensing Society and Red Cross Society as well to provide us guidance as to how to operate those services Right now, first and foremost, unlike splash pads, they require the hiring of several hundred part-time employees for the summer. So therefore, the department is really busy right now engaging in the employment of several employees to provide that service for the wading pools across the city. Like most summers, we have 2 waves of opening up the wading pools. Obviously, this year it's a little bit further pushed into the summer because of the announcement came at a later time. But we are set to open about half of the wading pools on July 6th and the other half on July 13th, a week later. The restrictions around the wading pools will be encouraged based on, as it is per the province right now, with how many people can be together at one spot and physical and social distancing taking place. So all those things would be communicated and shared for those visiting the wading pool. In relation to the outdoor pools, the deep end pools like you would have in the indoors, both the indoor and the outdoor pools, we do have to hire a lot of staff for that. The conditions of operation are stricter in those environments. So we're following those things, particularly for the indoor sites. The number of people be allowed in the pool tank and in the pool deck environment is substantially reduced. And it will make for some tricky operational capacities during hot days. We'll probably be looking to limit the length of swim times in order to provide as much opportunity to the residents as possible, to enable as many people to go through the pool as in that given period of time. The restrictions will be similar as far as social distancing and limitation of numbers around the pool deck. Most of the outdoor pools and the indoor pools will open slightly at different dates, but some beginning on July 6th and some later on, a week or so later. There are some facilities that unfortunately won't be allowed to open this summer for a combination of reasons. One, we do have some construction and some life cycle work taking place at some of our facilities that's impacting that. Another aspect of the consideration is for city camps to take place under the rules by the province for camps to occur. The parameters of safety around camps due to COVID limits the ability for other services to work in close collaboration with them. So in some of our facilities, the physicality of the site does not permit for another service to come online as well at the same time, or makes that very challenging. So there's various steps in order to reopen a pool. It is complicated and various things have to be taken into account. We also have processes for our front desk to protect both our clients and our employees at the front desk with plastic shielding, as is now commonplace in most businesses, and other steps as well too to ensure a safe environment. With regards to the type of programming for both the indoor and outdoor pools, we'll have a combination of various things going on, from open public swims and so forth. There will be lessons starting in mid-July. Obviously, the ratios will be small, so you're talking small ratio classes, private and semi-private swimming lessons. Those will be communicated in greater detail, and opportunity for residents to register for those programs starting in around the first or second week of July, with programming starting a week and a half later. In addition to those services as well too, organized swim clubs, synchro, water polo, competitive swimming, and so forth, will also have an opportunity to get in the pool because they have not had any pool time since the mid-March period. And I know there's a pent-up demand for athletes and young athletes starting up in the sport to get to their practice time. So that will be another opportunity that will be afforded to the community as the pools reopen.
Very important information from Dan Brisebois, who's the head of aquatics at the City of Ottawa. Amazing work to be able to reopen. Their pools are empty. We've had staffing. Now we have measures in place for COVID. Stay tuned. We will share with you wading pools, outdoor pool at Jeanette, for example, and indoor pools as they open in our community. As soon as we have that information, we'll pass it along. On a final note, we want to prevent drownings. We have a coalition of all the partners in Ottawa working collectively. We've already had drownings at a beach in Ottawa. It's important that as a parent, you're aware, be in the water within arm's reach when you go to swim with your family. And please, if you have older kids, please leave the phone alone. Keep the eyes on the kids when they're in the water. Stay safe and enjoy the water.